Hello everybody, and here comes another Enterprise. It's just because the video I did before I recorded this was the Ambassador class, the U.S.S. Enterprise C, which in my fleet is the U.S.S. Agamemnon. I bring you the U.S.S. Valkyrie. My rendition of the U.S.S. Enterprise E, you could say. But at the end of the day, it is my assault cruiser refit. Something I bought when there was the bonus Zen sale, because I really like it. And this is going to become the flagship cruiser for my science officer as well. So there may be another video coming of this one. Now, the layout will look familiar if you've just seen the Ambassador class videos. It's got the same weapon setup, it's got the same console setup. And kind of following a common theme here with these ships. There's some differences though. So, up front, I put the Advanced Fleet Dual Disruptor Beam Bank, damage ×2, accuracy ×2, because I wanted some more punch, and damn it, I need to use this beam bank. I really like this beam. That, and I recently diverted all of my accuracy ×3 disruptor beams to my Romulan. So, got more advanced fleet beams, got 3 of these, accuracy damage ×2. The experimental proton weapon, and the wide-angle quantum torpedo. I love this. It's a quantum torpedo with 180 arc. And the reason why I put the experimental proton weapon up front is so that when I see that firing, and it does stand out when it fires, I know that my torpedo can fire too. And on the back, I put the heavy biomolecular disruptor turret so that when I'm flying towards things, I've got more forward weapon power. And I also did it to get the 2-piece bonus, which I talked about in the first video I've done of these series, which is the biomolecular instability, granting you 7.5 bonus phaser or disruptor damage, phaser and, technically, and it increases your biomolecular incubation Kajigger proc by 2%, which doesn't matter at all on this build, and the kinetic cutting beam is back. I've been denying myself usage of this lately. And because a lot of my ships have used FA, and, well, firing another beam at will is kind of nice. But no, I need more of a powerful forward arc with this ship, so that's what I did. And as we know, the assault cruiser has a base turn rate of 7, so it's slightly more maneuverable for a cruiser. Now, I needed something to do with the Mako set. This was my first rep set that I got, and it's a good rep set. I really like this rep set, but it's been overshadowed lately and hasn't had anywhere to go, so I've slapped it on this ship. And I'll just pause over it. If you want, you can pause and take a look at the skills. But Mako's been out for a really long time now. Everybody should be pretty familiar with this. And my hypercharged warp core. And again, I've shown the warp core, and everybody knows the subspace field modulator. Just my throat's getting sore, there's too much talking. And I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me yabber on all day and all night. So I left the Metreon gas canister on here, because it's a cool console. I really like what it does. If you've seen, I think it's Insurrection. Don't really remember. It's one of the lesser movies. One of the ones I didn't really like as much. But Riker basically ejects Metreon gas and blows the enemies behind him to high hell by igniting it. And that's what this ship does. What's cool is it basically acts as eject warp plasma. when you originally use it, and then you have 60 seconds to either self-detonate it, or it'll detonate, or a ship explosion will detonate it, or sometimes weapon fire will detonate it if a ship is stuck in the cloud. But it still, you know, drops their turn rate, it drops their flight speed, it disables cloaks, and when you ignite it, it deals 2,112.5 plasma damage per second for 5 seconds. It's a huge damage over time. And really, I should be using plasma weapons on this ship, but I like disruptors. I really like disruptors. I've got an enhanced RCS accelerator, plus hull HP, just because. I could do all resistance, but it doesn't really matter on this ship, because this is an ox to damp build. The assimilated module, and the tachyonetic converter. Now, the reason you use these is pretty damn clear. They boost your critical chance and severity, but I also need the extra flight turn rate. And the graviton generator boost is nice. And if you notice here, there's even more graviton generators being boosted by this set. The reason why that's nice is because of the 3-piece Mako bonus. Now the 2-piece bonus gives you a 5% power recharge speed boost, and it boosts your power insulators, which resist shield and energy drain by 17.5. But the 3-piece bonus, which has a 1 minute and 54.3 second recharge, that's right, not 2 minutes, but they give you an extra 5.7 seconds shaved off that. Just a little nicety there. I don't know why they did that, but hey. Whatever. It takes 2 seconds to charge up. It's got a 65-degree arc. And basically you just fire a kinetic beam out of your deflector. It does 2,466 kinetic damage with 50% shield penetration. It does a 1,191.3 repel, so it's tractor beam repulsors to the max. It just rams them right away. It takes off their aux, impulse, and weapons. Wait, what? To target weapons, engines off... That looks like a typo. Weapons engines and impulse engines. But it takes off all their systems but shields for 5 seconds. Problem is, it drains your auxiliary by 42.6. But the damage is boosted by particle generators. And I'm assuming power insulators will reduce the auxiliary drain. Graviton generators obviously pushes them farther. And this disable would be increased, I imagine, by subspace decompiler. So it's kind of a cool beam. It's really fun, and you can actually, if you time it right, you can make that as the killing strike on an enemy, which I really love to do. Get their shields down, get their hull to around like 25%. Depending on how fast they're dying, you gotta kind of gauge it right, because you have to wait the 2 seconds. And then, bam! Sometimes there's a bit of a push and then they go, but sometimes it's just like the beam shoots through them and rips their ship apart. It's phenomenal, it's awesome. That's pretty much the main reason for using this set. And it helps to have the dual beam bank for when you're getting into that narrow arc to fire. At least you've got your dual beam bank working on their shields even harder. Under science consoles, I went with the hydrodynamics compensator. Because again, I need all the flight turn rate boosts I can get with this ship. It may be a bit faster turning for a cruiser, but it's still a cruiser, after all. Proton particle stabilizer is on here, boosting my EPS, and 3 vulnerability locators plus disruptor. My power transfer rate, one of the higher ones for my ships on this character, is 136%. The hull is pretty decent at 55k, just about even, and the hull repair rate is 184.5, which is a bit on the lower side for a cruiser, but still pretty solid. These resilient shields have a regeneration rate of 173.4, which is a little low, but it's okay. It's livable because of emergency power to shields being cycled. Their regen rate is a little, or not the regen rate, their capacity is a little low in this instance because of the low shield modifier and such. So they've only got 9.1k. And my base resists, again, are there, but that goes up to mid-30s once Ox to Damps kicks in. Bonus accuracy is nicer than normal at 27.6. Critical chance is a flat 18, and severity is an 87.8. It's a semi-themed build, remember. I'm still using everything that comes with this ship. And I'm going for more maneuverability than firepower. There are some compromises. They're not without the rewards, though. The base turn rate is 19.2. The flight speed is 31.05. With Ox to Damps, it goes to 44.04 and 25.3, which looks a little like this at full speed. And while we're at full speed, let's take a look at what once was the Enterprise. Obviously, a different skin, different deflectors, engine visuals, but in every other way, this is the ship that's had its, well, it's not the ship, it's the same model as the ship that was half assimilated and had half of its saucer section merged with a scimitar very forcefully. Which is why I really like this ship. The Enterprise E wasn't in service for a very long time, but in its time in service it went through hell. And then it was off missing somewhere in space. And I don't know, it's valiant, for lack of a better word. There's some feels there. I really like that, you know, in lore, the ship, it just takes such a beating and so much abuse. It was the Enterprise that never really saw the love that's deserved upon the Enterprise. And so, in that weird way, and my typical faction to love the underdog and those who are those things and people who are less loved by others, I give you the Enterprise E, the Regent, in my layout. I've gotten damn good at doing these videos by doing them 3 in a row. Sorry about that, but it would appear that it was time for dilithium to get refined. Final analysis of it. It's, I don't know, there's better cruisers. Plain and simple. If you love the Regent, then it's a really awesome ship. If you want a really badass cruiser, get the Avenger. Because it's flat out the best cruiser in the game. At least for a Fed. I'm not so sure about a Romulan or a KDF. Because obviously there's the Moog, and everybody would argue that the Scimitar is the best cruiser thing or whatever for Romulans, but I don't Scimitar. I Arkiff. Which is another ship I will be showing you guys once I've got that up and running. But, I like this ship. As I said, I'm going to use it as the flagship cruiser for my science officer because the Dreadnought's got a hangar bay, but isn't necessarily better, or even more nostalgic, to be honest. But, it's got blue phasers. I put the what are they called? Those bio blobby phasers. The new ones from the Zindi lock boxes. They're decently cheap and they look cool as hell. I love how they look. So I had to throw some of them on my Dreadnought. And I bought a Fleet Avenger because I didn't want the Vata console. I've got much better consoles than that. And I don't know, both characters I'd like them to have, you know, I want her to have the Vesta, obviously, being her ship, her flagship, and ultimately how I want a Vesta to be. And I don't know which escort I'm going to do yet, but I want her to also have an escort and a cruiser to build and see what a science officer can do with those ships as well. And so this is going to be the one, and it's not a bad choice. If you have an Avenger, if you have a Excelsior, which is another beautiful ship, and another ship that, again, it saw a lot of use. Obviously, by Starfleet and lore, it's one of the most used cruisers, if not the most used cruiser of all of Starfleet's history. And there was a lot of times when it came into TNG, but the Enterprise B never really saw love. It just got beaten up in the beginning of Generations and rescued some people and was commanded by a captain that we're led to believe really shouldn't have been in that seat. And I'm sure there's books and comics and stuff that do actually tell some of the stories of the Enterprise B in terms of everything else. It doesn't get any love. But I mean, if you've got one of those, if you've got an Avenger, if you've got a Dreadnought, hell, even if you've got a mirror cruiser, you don't really need this ship. If you really want the wide-angle quantum torpedo, which is a really good torpedo, it kind of helps. The, what's that kind of gas called? Metreon? Yeah, the Metreon gas containers. They're pretty cool, too. I believe it's a 3-minute recharge on them. And I don't know, you get the Riker maneuver, you can have some cool, yeah, moments, TNG, but besides from First Contact, personally I don't feel this ship has been in anything worthy of the ship itself, worthy of the name Enterprise, and I didn't like Insurrection very much, or Nemesis. They're probably my least favorite bits of Star Trek in the whole of Star Trek, including the J.J. Abrams stuff. Because they're good movies, they're just not good Star Trek movies, whereas Nemesis and Insurrection were okay movies, and it was kind of tricky. Insurrection more so than Nemesis, but it didn't have the feel to me. And I just went off on a rant on the movies. Which is why I say you don't need to watch the end of these, because I tend to do things like that. As for the ship itself, like I said, I really like it, but it doesn't... In the game, it's kind of obsolete. It doesn't really have a place, it doesn't have anything that says, look at me, pick me, pick me. And I just realized I forgot to go over my BOF seating. Which wasn't smart of me. I guess it doesn't even bring this unique, but it does have a Lieutenant Commander Tactical Station. And an Ensign Tactical Station. It's a little more tactically focused than some cruisers, but again, I'm almost positive this is how I have my Avenger set up. I haven't flown my Avenger in a while, that's why I say almost positive. But for my Lieutenant Universal, you kind of have to use the Science one here. I've got Tractor Beam and Science Team. For my Lieutenant Commander Tactical, I have Torp Spread 1, Spawn 2, an attack pattern Omega 1. I have a Romulan attack team for my Ensign Tactical. Liberated Borg with double emergency power to shields, aux to damps, and reverse shield polarity 3. And I Betazoid with engineering team and aux to damps 1. Again, it's an aux to damps build. I gotta get the faster turn rate and flight speed and whatnot. It's a really great ship for taking on the crystalline entity. That's for sure. And it's a pretty ship. But there's better ships out there. So if you're watching this video and you're saying, should I get a Regent? Well, the question I ask you is, how much do you love the Regent? And the other question I ask you is, do you have another cruiser? Because if the answer is a lot no, yes, you should get the Regent. If it's kinda no, you should get an Avenger. If it's kinda and yes, you shouldn't get it. If it's no and yes, you shouldn't get it. If it's no and no, you shouldn't get it. So there you go. It's a mixed ship, but it's mostly obsolete, sadly. The fleet one adds another console, so you get 10, it gets it a bit stronger, it gets its shields a bit stronger. If you can live without the wide-angle quantum, it's ultimately the Sovereign to go for. So, that's my conclusion. And thank you everybody for watching. Have a good one.